Today's video is going to discuss chapter 3.5, adding and subtracting like fractions. So we're going to start by talking about adding and subtracting when they have a common denominator. Right? So we're talking about the number that is on the bottom here. And since both of these are tenths, what I can do is I'm going to keep the tenth on the bottom, and I would encourage you to write the 10 there to start. And then I'm going to say 7 plus 6, and 7 plus 6 is 13. So this is 13 tenths, and I can change this, if I want to make this into a mixed number, into 1 and 3 tenths. Now if I'm down here, I'm going 5/8 plus negative 7/8. Again, I have a common denominator, so I'm going to put the 8 on the bottom as my denominator. And now I'm going 5 plus, and be careful, this is 5 plus negative 7, and 5 plus negative 7 is negative 2. And this I can reduce because I got a 2 can be divided into the top and the bottom, so I'm going to divide this by 2 over 2, and this becomes negative 1 over 4. Now I want you to notice that I put the negative, in this particular part, the negative is with the 2, and here it's out in front. It doesn't matter which way. I would encourage you to start to think of it as the entire fraction as being negative as opposed to just the numerator or just the denominator. Alright, so then what do we do when we are subtracting? So if we subtract, and you think about here again, got to have a common denominator, which I do, and so this is going to be a 10 on the bottom, and I'm going to go 3 minus 9, and so this is going to be negative 6. I'll put the negative out in front. Okay, and again I can divide 2 into the top and the bottom, and so this will become negative 3 over 5 at negative 3/5. Alright, well now what happens when we do mixed numbers? So there are a couple of ways to solve mixed numbers, and one way that you've probably been taught in the past is to change this into an improper fraction and then go from there. But I'm going to show you a bit of a shortcut, one that I really want you to start to try to use and get more comfortable with, and that is I'm going to take the two whole numbers, which are the 2 and the 3, and I'm going to add those together, and then I'm going to take the 3/8 and the 7/8, and I'm going to add those together. So if you think of this as 2 and 3/8, this is really the same as 2 plus 3/8, and this is the same as 3 plus 7/8. So if you think about this as a plus here and a plus here, the commutative property tells me I can move things around, so I'm just going to go 2 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3/8 plus 7/8, and then I'm going to essentially associate the 2 and the 3 and the 3/8 and 7/8, and I'm going to add them together, and this becomes 5, and this becomes 10/8. Now I'm not quite done yet, because now I have to put them back together, and so this really becomes, when I put these together, this becomes 5 and 10/8. Now you may realize that that looks a little weird. You can't leave it like that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 10/8, which is greater than 1. I'm going to take 1, so I'm going to take 8/8. I'm going to take 8/8 and put them back into the 5, and so that now becomes a 6, because that's 1 larger than 5, and that means I still have 2/8 left. All right, so if you think about this, if you're just thinking about this number, this would be 40. 8 times 5 is 40, plus 10 more is 58. This 8 times 6 is 48, plus 2 more is also 58. So these two numbers are actually the same thing. Right? And then from here I got to reduce the 2/8, so this is actually going to be 6 and 1/4. Right? So that'd be my final answer. Now don't worry, you'll get a chance to practice that when we get to class. Now I want to talk about what we do when it's subtraction, and it's going to be the same idea. The problem here is that if this number were larger than this one, so if this was like a 4 and this was a 2, I could just subtract the large number and I could just subtract the fraction, similar to what I did on this problem. Right? I could subtract the whole numbers and subtract the fractions, but the problem here is that I can't do that because 1/8 is less than 7/8, so I'm essentially going to have to carry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this, so this becomes 4 and 9/8, right? So I'm taking 1, which is 8/8, and I'm putting 8/8 into there. So this is 4 and 9/8, I'm going to subtract that from 1 and 7/8. Now I can do my trick where I'm going to say 4 minus 1, and I'm going to say 9/8 minus 7/8. And so this becomes 3, and this becomes 2/8. Now, this is where a lot of people are confused. What they do now is they subtract these two, which is not what I got to do. I got to actually put these two together. So this becomes 3 and 2/8. All right, so I did subtract, and this was the subtraction part. This is always adding back together. And then this I can reduce to 3 and 1/4. Right, so just be careful that we're not necessarily subtracting one fraction and then subtracting the other. There is a way, and we can talk about a little bit of a trick of how you might be able to get away with something like that. But you got to be willing to deal with positive and negative fractions. And then the final thing is what happens when we start to add in variables. So I now have 2a over 10 plus 4a over 10. Keep in mind that I'm basically taking 2a's and I'm adding them to 4a's, which means I now have a total of 6a over 10. Now, a lot of people leave it there, but I can't, because I actually can divide a number into the top and into the bottom, because remember this is 6 times a and this is 10, and if I divide 2 into the top, this becomes 3a, and divide 2 into the bottom, and this is now a 5. So my final answer would be 3a over 5. All right, thank you very much for watching the video. Please don't forget to answer the problems on the bottom of the page. I'll see you in class.